Hello, my name is Wolfgang Lalouschek. I'm a neurologist and consultant and founder of the initiative Planet Yes for Sustainable Regional Development. In fact, I'm not an expert for local economy, but I think I understand something about people, their relationships, and their desires. And I treat a lot of people who come in some sort of crisis to me, let's say burnout, job crisis, depression, or something in that way. And so I said to myself, I see a number of people who carry some sort of inner no inside them, an inner no towards their own life, their job, or the world in general. And I believe that there are many more people out there, millions and billions of people, who carry an inner no inside them towards what they see in the world. And most of them think, I cannot do anything about that, which makes them feel helpless and hopeless. And what I found in many talks to such people is that all of them have an inner desire for an inner yes, for their own life and for what they see in this world. And I found that this very individual desire for this inner yes never is something negative. It's always something positive. It has something to do with love, with relationships, also with relaxation and with responsibility. Now, when we look at the global situation, we see some paradoxical things. Each day, 300,000 babies are born with a loud inner yes. And so many people strive around the world with an inner no. In fact, the World Health Organization says that in 2030, depression will carry the largest burden of disease above all other diseases. Isn't that paradoxical? Secondly, we are told that there is so much progress in this world, but all ecological and so many social data are getting worse each day, faster and faster. And thirdly, there are so many thousands of initiatives to try to make this world a better place, but altogether they seem to have no significant impact on a large scale. One of the most fundamental problems is that we see an almost exponential link between the developmental status of a country and its ecological footprint per person. Whereas it should be the other way around, and the better developed countries should have a smaller ecological footprint. That's what we aim at. So why is this so? There are some problems which I call for myself the big 5 problems. First of them, there is systematic isolation from each other and systematic promotion of negative aspects of personality, emotions, and mind. These are fear, anxiety, aggression, greed, or brutality. This has a lot to do with modern forms of communication, continuous multitasking, and distraction. As a neurologist, I know that during multitasking, unconscious negative thoughts are brought to our conscious mind all the time. This effect is multiplied by the modern media society, which is also full of negative and often totally irrelevant content. Secondly, this world is full of positive feedback loops. Now, this may sound positive, but each biologist or physiologist knows that positive feedback loops lead to escalation. Cars need streets, streets lead to more cars, which need even bigger streets, and so on and so on. Whereas our body is kept in balance by many negative feedback loops. For instance, in the hormone system, where an increasing level of a certain hormone leads to reduced production of this hormone, thus keeping the system in balance. Now, thirdly, we have this already mentioned exponential link between development and footprint, and we see a lot of strategy without action, tons of papers, governmental decisions, climate goals, etc., which lead to merely no effect. And on the other hand, we see so much action and activism without strategy, connection, and collaboration. Though activism is important to a certain extent, it often tends to burn out after some time with nearly no sustainable effect. The fifth factor is we have many more or less hidden agendas in this world. So the current status of the world did not happen by chance. In fact, many of these detrimental developments follow a certain strategy of exploitation and increasing imbalance of money and power. Large corporates, media, and many political decision makers are linked together and also use a sort of global propaganda towards maintaining the current system. So, how can this world be cured? I think it's very important to see that economy, ecology, and sustainability, as well as society and individual health, cannot be seen isolated from each other, but that they are deeply interconnected to each other. Therefore, we have to think and act interdisciplinary. Now, when we first look at all the negative developments, in Great Britain, from 2001 to 2011, supermarkets have increased by nearly 40%. And at the same time, small shops and retailers decreased by 15 to 55%. 79% of food sales in Great Britain happen in about 8,000 supermarkets. At the same time, there is a significant reduction of small retailers in cities and a massive increase of vacancies. That means empty buildings. One study showed that the backflow into local economy when you buy something at a local shop is 52%, whereas it is only 14% when you buy things in supermarkets and shopping chains. This means that 86% of the money you spend is lost for the region where you live. When you eat in a local restaurant, the backflow is 79%, whereas it is only 30% when you eat in a restaurant chain. Another study in New Orleans showed that when you use about 16,000 square meters for about 100 local shops and retailers, the turnover per year would be $104 million. And $34 million would flow back into the local economy. If at the same area, one large supermarket would be built, this would only have a turnover per year of $50 million, and only $8 million of this would go back to the local economy. So if you compare these two scenarios with small local shops, you would have about $2,000 per year turnover, and you could say economical humus per square meter, whereas you only have $500 when you build a supermarket in the same area. This is similar to a field of crop where humus is lost or built up, depending on the form of agriculture you do. Another study showed that regions with higher density of small businesses showed an increase in individual incomes over years, whereas regions with more retail chains showed a decrease of individual incomes. One large supermarket leads to a loss of almost 300 local jobs in an area with a radius of 15 kilometers. And it was also shown that in communities with large supermarkets, you see less non-profit groups and organization and social connection, therefore less signs of solidarity and social connection. At the same time, there is an ongoing rural exodus and massive urbanization and growing of cities and megacities. By 2050, 2/3 of people will live in a megacity according to current prognosis. Analysis of migrant behavior shows that besides local jobs, the factors which we can call loving and being characterize a subjective good life. And migration behavior is closely related to the individually perceived quality of life, the quality of place of residence, and also the social factors there. Now, in contrast, I would like to give some examples of new initiatives which have a potential to support a system change towards regional economy and social coherence. One of them There's a young Austrian example, a young startup in Austria called Markta. Markta serves as a digital platform for local producers. Even the smallest producers who may provide only 10 pieces of salad per week can contribute there. Since its beginning in 2017, they now cooperate with over 400 local producers with over 3,000 products, which you as a consumer can order in a digital shopping cart. Then it can be delivered to you, or you can pick it up at a pickup point. So you don't have to go to all of these producers separately, and it serves as a real and virtual regional supermarket. Another example is in concern to local mobility. In Austria, as in many other countries, over 50% of people are commuters who travel by car to their work, and almost all of them travel alone in their car. This app, Umadum, which is an Austrian startup, combines a carpooling exchange with a point system that rewards joint driving. You can be a driver, a passenger, or both. The driver gets a bonus of 10 cents per kilometer, which he or she can use for local shopping. Drivers and passengers are connected via an app automatically, and insurance is also included. I find it very smart that communities can buy points for their population. And there are also models that not only drivers but also passengers get a bonus, that the joint traveling is supported very strongly. Similar models are provided for corporates and their employees. And the third important factors are regional currencies. There are many such currencies all around the world, but not so many of them have a real relevant impact on the local economy. One of them is the Sardex, which was founded in Sardinia in 2010 after the world economic crisis. It is a completely digital solution via smartphones. Companies have formed a network and pay for services and goods in Sardex instead of euros. And almost 1,600 companies grant each other, therefore, some sort of interest-free credit. There are absolutely no coins or banknotes, and the balance of each member is booked on an online account. Sardex has generated a turnover of 140 million euros since it was founded. For instance, in 2015, it has a turnover of 80 million euros. So it is a very relevant, important economical factor in Sardinia. And what I found very interesting when I talked to one of the IT specialists of the Sardex, he told me that in the years after the Sardex started, they observed a profound socio-cultural change in the population, where the population developed an attitude which was much more community and regional driven. So this is an important example that you can start with a purely economical measure, which then leads to social and cultural change. So what we believe in the Planet Yes project is that if you combine local supply chains, local mobility change, local energy production, and maybe also regional currencies, you create, in more general terms, local added value, or you could also call it economical humus. And here I also would like to mention that the often cited circular economy and economical circuits is not the same. In circular economy, it's about material circuits. But in economical circuits, it is about circuits of values, which is even more fundamental. And material circuits are only one consequence of this. Other consequences are social circuits, changes of attitudes and behavior, increasing feeling of relatedness and responsibility, and therefore positive effects on sustainability, both from an economical as well as from an individual and society-driven perspective. From a social perspective, health and yet education also could become common goals within a region and communities. And there is now another very important factor, and this is innovation. If you can integrate systematic innovation within such regions, this becomes a sort of a thinking region. And then you can see the important difference between material resources and immaterial resources like knowledge and innovation. Because you can think of regions or communities with socio-economical circuits which are tied to a specific geographical place, which on the other hand share at the same time their innovations and knowledge, which is independent from a locality. And moreover, material resources get less when we share them, but knowledge and innovation are multiplied by sharing. So if we think this a little bit further, we could get something we call a worldwide innovative sustainable environment, WISE, which seems to be a little different from what we call SMART. This is what we are aiming at with the Planet Yes initiative, thereby acting as an impact platform which brings stakeholders from different fields together: universities, entrepreneurs and corporates, media, decision makers, and civil society. Regarding the corona pandemic, this showed us how important local economical and social resilience are, and how fatal uncontrolled globalization and global dependencies are. So countries should support local resilience much more than before. But I fear that the corona pandemic will not so much be seen as a chance to support local resilience, but much more as a very welcome argument to even enhance uncontrolled neoliberalistic exploitation, with the argument that we now have to save our economy by all means and that ecological and social disasters are not so important. But also in our project and initiative, we have a number of already ongoing model projects and others are in the planning phase. I don't want to go into detail here, but in each of these projects, we start with what we call the regional desire. Like every individual, also communities have something like a common desire and a vision for the community or region. Once you can formulate this vision, you can step into more practical things like analysis, planning, first steps, etc. But the desire and the vision are the things which carry the whole process. This is what I found similar to the work with individual people, which I mentioned in the beginning. But we have to bear in mind that we need to get things done in a significant size. For instance, the economical turnover in a city like Vienna may be around 20 billion euro per year. So if we really want to reach a significant impact in local economy and subsequently sustainability and social resilience, we have to aim at maybe 50% of this turnover. This is 10 billion euros per year. It is obvious that this cannot be reached only by small and uncoordinated initiatives. Instead, we not only need people who start such initiatives, but we need professional knowledge in finance, in business modeling, legal things, political and economical strategies, and scaling of businesses. I mention this aspect because nowadays I see a relationship from activism to strategy from maybe 90 to 10. And it should be the other way around. Activism is very important to a certain extent, but professional strategy, business knowledge, and effective cooperation are things which will be necessary to accomplish a real turnaround. I would like to invite you to keep this in mind when you are planning your future ways. So in the end, it starts with our inner yes, and it may lead to a global impact. Thank you very much.